Welcome to our Amud Yomi Shiur. Thank you to everybody who came here to Avos Shalom in Bet Shemesh and to everybody in Torah Anytime and YouTube. We have some show and tell today. Yeah, this is a picture, bird's eye view of a vineyard. We're going to learn the halachas of a person who picks in the vineyard and what the Gemara has to say about the permission of the person, the worker, to eat from the grapes. The Shiur Lunishmas of Imori Menachem ben Akiva Lunishmas Sol Bas Moshe Rus Bas Shalom Lefuas Prina Chai Bas Giola Rochel Lefuas Naama Bas Rochel Rama Latzlochas Chen Bas Yardena and Gabriel Yosef ben Marta Lefuas Yitzchak ben Miriam Yitzchak Eric Yitzchak ben Miriam. Says the Holy Heilige Mishnah. Says the Mishnah. A person whose job is to pick te'inim, figs, is not supposed to eat from the anovim, which means we saw in the Torah, it says that a person who comes to, let's say, a vineyard, and his job is to pick the anovim, to pick and harvest the grapes, he's allowed to eat from the grapes almost as much as he wants, okay? Why? It says El kelecha lo titen. Whatever you pick for the whatever you pick for the worker, for the owner of the field, you're allowed to take for yourself. But if you work with one species, even though you're paid to work for both species, if right now you work for one type of fruit, and that's the only fruit you're allowed to take and eat. But if you pick, you cannot pick one fruit and eat from the other. Aval, however. Oh, so in our chart, this is, let's say, bird's eye view of the of what's called omen. Omen means the line of vines in the vineyard, right? So now this is a super duper one. That's a good one. Those grapes over here, they're the best ones because they're more exposed to the sun. The person is allowed to stop himself and resist and not eat while he's picking the regular ones and say, aha, when I get to the end of the line, I'll pick the best one. In other words, he is allowed to pick and choose and leave the balabais, the not so good ones, and take for himself the best one. Now, however, which means when is the person allowed to eat? Only b'shas melocho. As you're picking, you're allowed to be eaten. But you cannot just stop now. Let's say at the end of the line, you can't say, hey, I've been picking this for half an hour. Now I'm going to stand here and have a nice half an hour break and eat all the nice grapes over here. No, you're not allowed to stop working because in halacha, as long as the person works, he's supposed to work non-stop. I mean, maybe there are breaks, but while you're working, you're supposed to work and not stop in order to eat. So when are you allowed to eat those nice grapes? Maybe you can take only one grape and pop it in your mouth, maybe a handful quickly together as you pick the rest, and that's it. However, we're going to see more on that later. Aval continues the Mishnah. We're reviewing the Mishnah. Yeah, parents. Aval mishum hoshav aveda labaylim omru poilin oichlin balichosen meoimen leoimen. What does that mean? Because of Shavas Aveda. Shavas Aveda means what? Chazal saw that in reality, if people eat while they work, ideally you pick it, and pick all the time. What's in practice going to happen is that people will dawdle and stay too long eating while they work. It's going to disturb their work. It's bad for the Bailim. It's not Hashavas Aveda. Hashavas Aveda means we care about the money of the owner of the vineyard. And therefore, Chazal established that they should eat, where? Look at this black arrow. When people walk from one omen to the other omen, from one line to the other line, and that in between, that's when they can eat. Oh, so l'ch'oira, you could take what? Some grapes from over here, more than one, and as you walk along from station A to station B, you can eat as you're walking, because that's better. You're definitely not working. It doesn't disturb your concentration. You eat as you go from one place to the other, and that is that is best. And that's midorabanon, not midoraisa. Midoraisa, they're only supposed to eat while they work. Now, where else should they eat? when they come back from the wine press, right? Let's say the wine was already pressed. They're not allowed to eat from the wine, to drink from the wine anymore, right? It's been pressed, but now they're going back to another cycle, more work. On the way from station A to station B to station C, different places, that's when midorabanan the poyalim may eat. A donkey is allowed to eat also. As we saw, animals are allowed to eat as much as people, if not more. It's the oraisa l'tachsum shor b'dishoy. A chamor, when a chamor is porekes, when a chamor is unloading from, when people unload from the donkey, that's when the donkey is allowed to eat. That's actually a very difficult point, and the Gemara will challenge it and explain it differently. Says the Gemara. Oh, here comes a question. Iboilu. There's a question in the Gemara. Let's say a person is working with one geffen. Let's say this one. He's right now working with geffen number X, okay, with one over here. Yeah, that's where he's picking right now. Can he actually go to another geffen, let's say over there, nicer ones over here, let's say here, or actually over here. Oh, even better. This one is a super duper grape, yeah, Mr. Super Duper. Can he go all the way here to the end of the line and pick himself a nice cluster of grapes and eat it while he's working on a different geffen? Yeah, in other words, you're noised into the kli. You're putting the grapes in the kli of balabais from this one, from this grape, from this vine, while eating the ones from over there. Is that allowed or is it not allowed? And it's not clearly mentioned in the Mishnah. Can you eat from another, from the grapes of another tree, nicer ones? What's the question? The type of the species of fruit happens to be grapes that you place in the kelim of balabais, because what's your job? You're a picker, and you pick into the kelim of balabais as the Torah mentions. It's the same type. Yeah, this is from X and this is from Y, but it's the same type. So good, I'm allowed to. Or dilma, or perhaps maybe mimashatan mima. The stress in the word mima, from the very same type, this very same fruit. Shatanois and the kelim shalabais beinan beholeka. Maybe when the Torah tells you you're allowed to eat from what you put in the balabais' vessel, that is the receptacle, that is to say, literally from the same one, from the same tree, from the same vine, not from any other one, not even from the one next door. That's the question. How close does your eating and your picking have to be? The same type of fruit, so they both are Merlot grapes, or do we say no? Do we say it has to be mamish from the very same tree, the same vine? That's the question. Now we're going to try all kinds of attempts to prove the point. If you want to tell me, in order to rule out one of the two, if you want to tell me, listen, if you're not allowed to eat with one geffen, if you're not allowed to eat in the other, the first white line. If you want to tell me that it's impossible to say that you cannot eat from one vine, and meaning that the Torah doesn't allow me to eat from one vine while picking from the other. Oh, let's make a little picture here. Another picture. Yeah, let's say over here there is a bull. What's the job of the bull? That's the bull. That's the head of the bull. Yeah, very nice. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not a great painter. Yeah, that here is nice. I know it looks like a chazir. Bekitzer, that's the bull. The bull behind him is a cart. Yeah, right. Like okay. And there are people picking. Now the people are picking those grapes. The bull is chalishing and very hungry to eat from those grapes. His head and what's behind his tail is far away, right? And what's the bull allowed to eat? Well, obviously, if you allow the bull to eat while they're picking, the work is being done on this vine. While the bull is actually, his head is next to and being very, water-mouthed by this one. Oh, so you see, by definition, must be, maybe that's a proof, that you're allowed to work on one tree while eating from the other. And from a bull, we can surely prove to a human being, because they have exactly the same halachas here. So maybe that proves the point that you are allowed to pick from one and, eat from the other. Amar of Shisha, Breder of Idi, no, Besarcha, no. we can make here an ukimta that may be from the grape over here, the one that they're working on. There's a long, long branch that goes all the way here, and that's what the bull's allowed to eat. We're not saying that's for sure the case, but it's possible. You can't prove your point. Gefanim, they have very long, they stretch all over, they're draped all over, and they have long branches. It's very likely that there is one branch full of very nice, yummy grapes next to his head over here, which is exactly the same grape, the same vine that they're working on. So that doesn't prove your point. So we're still in a question. Toshma. Oh, here comes the proof from the Mishnah. What did the Mishnah say? If you're picking the te'enim, the figs, you're not allowed to eat the grapes. And now te'enim and grapes, halachically, are allowed to be buddy next door. There's no kilaim by regular trees. Very nice. Oh, so that proves to you that the diuk is quite evident. That is to say, te'enim v'te'enim, figs and figs, dumi de te'enim v'anovim, yeah, the same way that te'enim v'anovim would be close together. If you have te'enim v'te'enim, meaning I'm picking from one fig tree and I am eating another fig tree, oichel, it sounds like, yeah, it's okay to do that. If you want to tell me that if you work with one vine, you can't eat from the other vine, how would that work, right? It's quite a strong deal from the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, te'enim v'anovim v'gefen you cannot have. Mashma, anovim and anovim you are allowed to have. If it's not urgent, I prefer to continue. Yeah, we'll get to the answer. Okay, and then Omar Shisha Bredo of Idi be mudless. That's the whole story. What's mudless? Mudless means like this. Let's say, yeah, this is black on purpose. I don't know how much people at home can see that. Yeah, this is the fig tree. Yeah, the fig tree, that's a fig tree. The fig tree and the vine are draped over each other. They're all over each other. Yeah, the branches are all mixed up together. Okay? In such a case, said the Mishnah, Chiddush, even though that they are all together, right? And now you're supposed to be picking let's say, the grapes. The grapes is what you're working, and you're placing it into the kelim of alabais. As the apostle prescribes, you put it in the kelim of alabais. Practically, you're actually working with both, because in order to pick the grapes and the grapes only and be borer, you have to actually separate both branches, right? Both types of branches. So although physically you're working with both, since the picking is done into grapes and grapes only, therefore the chiddush is you're only allowed to eat the grapes. The equivalent of that would be two vines, two grape trees, two vines. If they're mixed together and I am only picking from this one, not from the other, for a technical reason, it's a very yekish vine, right now you're supposed to pick only from here. Although I'm working with both, right? Excuse me, no. Although I'm picking only from vine A and not from vine B, but because Lamaisa I'm working with both, because I'm separating B from A, that surely I'm allowed to eat from both types A and B. But that's only because why? Only because they are together mamish. However, in our case, when they're clearly separate, when X and Y or X and this are separate, they don't touch each other, we're still in a question. Baruch Hashem. I think it's much, much clearer than last time. Yeah, so we still remain in a question. Yeah, now comes the turn of your questions. Let's now try and figure out the question from another comment, another statement in the Mishnah. What did we say? The person starts working with the average vine 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, all together. He can stop himself, resist from eating. He's hungry, he's chalishing, but he knows at the end of the rainbow waits, yeah, big thing. He's allowed to eat the nice grapes over here, even though he's working over here with the not so nice ones. He's allowed to be selective. Zog the Gemara, wait, here's a proof. If you want to tell me that if I'm allowed to eat from, while working on X, I'm allowed to eat from SP. What's SP? Super duper. SD. S super duper. Yeah. I'm working on X. I'm allowed to eat from super duper. If so, nazil. Go to super duper, walk all the way, don't be lazy. Walk, 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 talk, talk, talk. Go over there. Yeah, get that? Go over here. Go back over here and start eating the nice cluster, pick the cluster, start working over here. Nazil, go, Venesi, bring it, Venechol Awesome, get over here. You see from the fact that he's supposed to stay hungry till the end of the line, that he's not allowed to eat, right? You see from here that he can't just pick this one, go to the beginning of the station, and start his journey here with this in the hand. Oh, you see, it's not allowed. Here's your proof. And says the Gemara, no, 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 no. There's another factor here. Awesome, over there, no. Bishumbitul melacha. Of course not. If that takes 5 minutes each direction, that's 10 precious minutes on the expense of who? Balabais. That's why you're not allowed. So that's out of the question. And that's what the Mishnah spoke about. That's what the Mishnah said. Stay hungry. Even in theory, if somebody else would bring it to you, would yes be allowed, as we'll see soon. But Lamaisa, you cannot walk back and forth. That's why. You know what our question is? Let's say this guy, the Mr. Worker, has very, very nice, loyal family. They stand behind him, literally. And what do? They'll bring it for him. He's working over here. No time wasted. No time wasted. He's working nice, sweating away. His wife and children, yeah, Ben has money. Oh, he found something nice for his children to do instead of driving the mother crazy at home. And it's summertime. He told the kids, come to work with me. Hey, kiddos, do you mind actually running all the way there, picking the nicest grapes over here and bringing them back to me? That is a question. Mitzad bitul's man, there's no bitul's man, no bitul molocha. He's not wasting 1 second. Dad is working very hard. On the other hand, what? Here comes the actual question. Is he conceptually allowed to eat from one vine while working on the other? That's a question. That still remains a question. And the same question we had all along. Mitzad, that it's not exactly what you're working with. What you're working, what you're picking, what you're eating is not exactly the same. Toshma. Now let's try and listen and bring another proof from another part of the Mishnah. The kulam loy omu, yeah, in all cases, el b'shas melocha, which means regardless to the quality of grapes that you're eating, you're only allowed to eat midoraisa while you work. You can't stop in the middle, just make a food break, unless you have an official break. Yeah, you can't just say, no, oh, I was so hungry for the whole line, I'm going to stand here all vengeance and just, eat for half an hour, not even for 1 minute to stop. Aval, however, in order to avoid loss to the bailim, to prevent loss from the owner, Omru, they said, midorabonon, they established a dorabonon dikadin, which means, since if people actually eat while they work and work while they eat, they won't be working properly. Your mind is on your grapes, not the Balbaisa's grapes. You will stop. It's not good to mix business and pleasure, as they say in English. So Chachamim made the takana, it's good time to eating. Don't take a break, because the Balbais is not happy with that. He's losing. So eat the grapes while you walk from Omen A to Omen B. Very nice. Now that raises a question in life. What are we saying? Where are they taking the grapes from? Obviously, the end of line A. That's where the best grapes are. Everyone's been chalishing, fantasizing about them the whole time. So they're picking a cluster from A, and eating while they're walking all the way to B. How does that fit into our question of eating from one geffen to the other geffen? Seems like it's okay. So that is now a question. Savrua, Chachamim thought, Mehalech ki oise maisedami. Or the question is as follows. When you're walking from station A to station B, that actual walk, is that considered work or not work? That's a question. Not so simple, my friend. Not so simple. You're not actually working. You're walking to station B. Of course, it's not called batolo, but it's not necessarily called working vis-a-vis eating. In other words, you see them in the oraisa, you're not supposed to eat while you're walking, l'ch'oira. Because what did we say? Only Rabbanan established that new invention of eating while you're walking. Walking is not really working, but it's not batol, it's not idle either. It's like hechsher mitzvah. When you make tzitzis, you're not really wearing it yet. Yeah, that's always a shaila, how important that is. You're making a sukkah. You're walking to the next station. So there are two ways to view it, by the way. If you view it as a real maisa, as a maisa melocha mamish to the bailim, and yet we see midoraisa lo yochil. From some reason we see Rabbanan established when you walk from A to B, you're allowed to eat. Mashma midoraisa, you can't eat. Why not? If we consider that as work, why aren't you allowed to eat? I'll tell you why. Clearly, Alma, that is to say, here's the proof. What are they eating, my friends? They're eating from row A, right? What are they? Sorry. What when they're walking, it's considered as part of which work, what kind of work? Working on B. So they're eating from A, right? While they are working, beginning already to work on B. And yet it's not allowed. If not for Chachamim establishing it, Medoraisa wouldn't be allowed. Here's your proof. You see that really Geffen Zeh cannot eat in Geffen Acher. You can't eat from one Geffen to the other. That's the reason. And says the Gemara, no. Really, I would tell you otherwise. No, I would tell you no. If you work with one geffen, you're allowed to eat the other geffen. Oh, but we can define the walking as being idle. Of course, it's not idle, my friend, but it's not called enough work to justify eating. In other words, the reason why the one walking from A to B midoraisa is not allowed to eat, it's not because of grade A, grade B, because simply it's not called work. It's not enough of being involved with real picking, just preparing for picking. You're not really picking. That's why you're not allowed to eat at that point. Ikadami. Now we're going to exactly reverse it. We're going to now reverse the table, turn the tables around. Ikadami. Some say just the other way around. Savrua. The Bnei Yeshiva, the people in Besmedrish thought, Mehalech lav koise maisedami. A mehalech, meaning a person walking from one grape area, one omen, to the other omen, from one to the other, is not considered oise maise, is not considered to be a real worker. It's not real work. If that's not called real work, okay, thank you. That's a very good reason. That is the reason. 3 lines from the bottom of the page. Bava Metzia, yeah, 3 lines from bottom of the page. Over here, Tzadi Beis Amud Beis, yeah. So now, yeah, the reason why a person who's walking from A to B can't eat, because it's not enough of work. It's not mamish being actively picking. It's not el keliechalotiten, right? Mishum de lav koise maisedami is not considered, yeah, lav koise maisedami, excuse me. That's why from the Torah, midin Torah, the walker between A and B is not walking between grape to grape. Mishum de lav koise maisedami is not considered as doing enough, not really being involved. That's why I can't eat. Tzadi Aleph on the base. I'm sorry, Tzadi Aleph on the base, because I don't see it on the screen. Thank you, Tzadi Aleph on the base. Sorry, thank you very much, Tzadi Aleph on the base. Yeah, but otherwise, yeah. Oise maise, ochin doraisa. Says Rashi, let's say that person, parents, would be walking with a burden on his back. He's mamish actively working for Balabais as he's walking. He's not just walking freely, whistling a song from A to B between the jobs. Had he been really doing work, he would be eating. The reason why he's not eating, according to this understanding, is because he's not working enough to justify the eating. He's not kalechaloititen. Alma, that is to say, if the only reason why walking from one omen to the other omen is not eating because it's not called work, had he be doing real work, had be schlepping grapes or, I don't know, doing something else constructive, then he would be able to pick from this one and eat on that one and eat on the way. So you see, you can pick from A and eat from B. Acher, loy, answers the Gemara, loy lamei malach. Now we're turning the tables. Now the answer is like what we thought before is the Havamina. Loy lamei malach, I will tell you, oise begefen zeh, ein ochel begefen acher. If you really work with one vine, you cannot eat from the other one. Mehalech ki oise maise dami. The reason why you're allowed to eat while you work, the reason why me'ikra din really you're not allowed to take from one and pick from B. But walking as of itself is a Maisa. Walking is called a Maisa. Elamai, you can't take from A and eat in B. Now, by the way, if you noticed, there is no clear answer. There's no clear answer. The Gemara does not leave us with a clear answer, as Gemara tends to do many times. And I saw the Shulchan Aruch. What do you think the halacha is if the worker says, I'm allowed to eat from pick from this one. My wife and kids are nice and loyal and bored at home. Yeah. So they brought me, they caught a beautiful cluster over here. And I'm working very well. I'm working like a chamoyer, eating, and working from this one, working on this while eating from that. Is that allowed? So we did not stay with anything clear. And therefore, the Shulchan Aruch says that the Poel is not allowed to do it. But if he took, the Balbas cannot take it out of his hands. That's always the rule by the Rambam and Shulchan Aruch. Usually, 90% of the time, not all Rishonim agree to that. But the Rambam followed the Shulchan Aruch says, usually when there's a Gemara with an unclear conclusion, meaning no conclusion in money, we follow sort of Motzim Chaver Lavaraya. Who is holding? As long as the grapes are attached to the vine that belong to Balabais. So, Mr. Paul, you cannot take from A and eat in B because it's a question. If the Paul did take it, I don't know if that's right or wrong, but if he did, the Balabais cannot take it out of his hands, or says Shulchan Aruch cannot deduct from his salary, right? Which would be another nasty way to do that he cannot do because it's a Motzim Chaver. It works both ways. That's the rule. That's the klal and the halacha according to Shulchan Aruch. Excuse me. בחמור כשהיא פורקת, בחמור כשהיא פורקת. So what did we say in the Mishnah? When can a donkey eat while it's working? We say when the chamor is porekes, well, porekes means unloading. Last time I checked, a chamor cannot actually unload, from himself. People unload it, people take it off his back, and then, frag the Gemara, kshi porekes, when it was unloaded from his back, where is it eating from? Why? Because when they unloading it, they straight away take it to a better place. It doesn't stay there. They unload it and take it straight. The grapes, they take them to the vineyard, to the wine press, somewhere else. It's not a station. It's not a stage really where the animal can eat. So what do you mean? I mean, it can eat when they pick. That we saw in the chart over here. We saw when the people are picking, the bull, whatever, can eat from the grapes next door to his mouth. That's a different story, but that's not what the Mishnah is saying now. The Mishnah says the chamor is allowed to eat in another stage. By the way, you know the difference. Chamor is usually used as what? As masa. A person should always be like shor le'ol v'chamor le'masa, it says, right? Thing Bava Basra. Yeah, in other words, a chamor is a cargo animal. It's an animal of cargo. It schleps on its back. When it schleps on its back, then they unload it. When is it supposed to eat? Ema. Therefore, we have to change the version of the Mishnah and say ad shete porekes. Just on the contrary, when the chamor is schlepping the grapes on his back, and they smell really nice and really likes them, and if he can somehow manage to turn his mouth and eat from the grapes on his back, then good for him until he's porekes. Once he's porekes, that's the end of the job for him. That's the end of the stage. He cannot eat anymore, and anyway, they're going to take it away. But the chiddush is, what's the chiddush? The chiddush is that although loy sachsam shor bedishoy says Tosfos means what? Oh, how can it be so cruel to the animal? It sees in front of it. It's like a kid in the candy store. I do feel bad for my 8 years old when you go to the candy store on Friday and I cannot buy all the candies for him as he'd like to, It's like a Yisurim, In other words, for the animal to see all the wheat, barley, quinoa, whatever it likes, right in front of it, visually, eye contact, how can you do that to the animal? But if it's behind you, if it's behind him on his back, smell, I don't know. Who says the animal's allowed to eat? One would say no, right? And therefore comes the Gemara, which is really the Mishnah tells me no. Although it's behind him, as long as he somehow manages to see it, to feel it, and starts eating from the back, then gezun tehed, you can't stop him from eating. Now, Tnina leho, now that we prove that also from a brayso. So there's the brayso that supports what we say. The Ton Rabbanon, chamor vegamal, chamor and a gamal, camel, both, animals of cargo, oichlim imasu shal gabein, they eat from the load that's on their back, bilvad shelo yitel biyadoi ve'achilem, as long as some animal lover or their owner, who's their owner is not always the owner of the grapes, right? It's usually the case. You have one owner who owns the donkey and the gamal, and one owner is what? The owner of the grapes. There's always conflict of interest, yeah? The one who's the owner of the donkey would say, I'm an animal lover. He really loves his own pocket. It's very good for him to feed as much as he can and enjoy the that is on the hands of Balabais, right? So if you're the owner of the donkey, you can allow your donkey, whoever you are actually, whoever's in charge of the donkey, owner or not owner, should allow him to eat as long as the donkey can, go like that and eat. But to go ahead and ya'achilo beyodayim, if you're the owner, you want to feed it with your hands, to take off from the back and make it accessible and feed to the chamor from the front, from the mouth, that is not allowed anymore. That's not part of the you let the animal do its job naturally. Not supposed to stop it. Not stop it this way, not the other way, not with the lion, not with the kites. All very nice. But to dafka actively feed it something that was otherwise not within reach, that you're not allowed to do because that's already beyond. So you're stealing from Balabais. We always keep the balance. Says the Heilige Mishnah. 1 minute. Question then. Here's the Heilige Mishnah. Now comes the question of how far do we go with allowing the person to eat, not mitzad time or amount, mitzad the value of the fruit. Let's give a small introduction. Let's say you pay a regular, worker, low-paid worker, I don't know, 25 shekels an hour. I'm not sure it's legal, maybe more. I don't know, 28 shekels an hour, just the minimum wage, whatever that is. And what is he picking? Pineapples. One pineapple is so in the merkaz goes for 50 shekels. Yeah, the guy's going to eat pineapples that are actually more than the entire salary that he makes. Yeah, he's working the whole day. I don't know, 25 times, 10 hours, 250 shekels, and he's eating now pineapples more than the value. Is that allowed? Is there a limit? Yeah, can I limit the mitzad? Look at the value, not just the amount and the time, which we discussed, but also the value. Let's see what the Mishnah has to say. So the Mishnah has 3 opinions. Opinion number 1. Oichel poel kishois afilo bedinar. A poel made kishois, which I think is like a cucumber. How do they translate kishois in English? I don't know. It's a vegetable. It's a vegetable. The Rishonim say. What's a kishois? I think cucumber. Cucumber. Oh, I was right for a change. So, okay, Loshen Mishnah, he's allowed to eat a cucumber, even if the cucumber is very expensive, worth a dinar. Dinar is a lot of money. Dinar is the second most expensive currency in the times of the Gemara, right? Dinar is a quarter of a sela, that's a lot. And koiseves v'afil b'dinar, a date is allowed to eat 1 date worth of dinar, so he's eating very expensive fruit while he's picking them, and that is still okay. And by the way, the Rishonim say dinar is lav dafka, could be more than a dinar. Yeah, I don't know, it's very expensive. Pineapples very expensive in this country. He can eat his heart out as long as it's not a chilagasa, right? As long as it's not stopping in order to eat. But if he manages to eat the pineapple, his wife is one peeling it for him behind his back, right? It's a very nice wife, and she cuts it for him, and he's pineappling away and eating a lot of pineapples, which is definitely a loss for Mr. Owner. And yet, according to Tanakama, that's allowed. Okay. Rabbi Lozer Chisma, second opinion, Rabbi Lozer Chisma says, Lo yochel poil yeser al schoroi. A poil has a limitation. He cannot eat more than his salary, more than his wages. In other words, I don't know, per day, per hour. I don't know, I haven't seen much in the Rishonim. I did look. I didn't see any clear indication. Let's say per day he gets 500 shekels, Nagid, nice, I don't know. And he's eating, I don't know, pineapples worth 600. No. You should make a cheshbon. I don't care how hungry you are, how this you are. You can eat while you go along, as long as you don't, as long as it matches your salary, not more. Yeah, your salary is 500 a day. You can't eat fruit more than 500 shekels a day. That's the rule according to Rabbi Elazar Chisma. You should match the amount. The Chachamim matirin. Chachamim do allow you to eat more than your salary. Of course, the question is, what's the difference between Tanakama and Chachamim? They both seem to argue Rabbi Elazar Chisma, and they allow to eat to no end, right? Even more valuable than your actual salary. The Gemara will discuss that. Aval, now comes an opinion. Chachamim say that people, whoever people are, the rabbis, the owners, somebody should teach, it's Xer Darabonon, Takona Darabonon, teach the poil not to be a ravtan, not to be a glutton. not to eat too much, because then you're closing the door in front of yourself. As we say in nice English, you're shooting yourself in the leg. If you get the bad name of Mr. Glutton, if you're the worker, everybody knows, everybody in the field, excuse the pun, knows you are the worker who eats pineapples to no end, yeah? Who's going to hire you? So you think, I'm using my rights. I'm using my, it's like marriage, you know, if you hold of your rights, the marriage is going to go kaput, yeah? In other words, if you say, I have my workers' rights, nobody's going to hire you. You'll be jobless at the end of the day. So we're melamedim, don't be duglatan, because then nobody's going to hire you. So melamedim, we teach the person, you know, eat, you know, have a diet a little bit, go a bit on a diet while you work. Don't eat things that are beyond the actual salary, so the badim don't feel that they lost too much. And at the end of the day, it will be in your favor. That by the way is not so simple that we do that. That's what the Mishnah says over here. Let's see the Gemara. No reason to stand now right now to shtel. Let's continue the Gemara. Frag the Gemara. Chachomim ma'inu tanakama. What's the difference with the first opinion, the anonymous opinion Chachomim, and the it's not Chachomim, the anonymous and Chachomim? They both argue on Reb Lazar Chisma that gives you a limitation. Looks like both the first opinion and the third opinion, they both seem to what? Say, eat as much as you want, as long as it's not achila gasa. Besides the money, not achila gasa. He still has good appetite, but his seventh pineapple, that's 7 times 50 shekels, yeah? No problem, says Tanakama and Chachamim. So what's the difference between the opinions? Ika benayu, there are a few opinions, there are a few answers. Answer number 1, the difference between the two opinions is aval melamdin. Oh, that concept that you teach, you train halachically so. Yeah, when people go to Shiur to learn how to be good workers halachically, you advertise a Shiur in the neighborhood, how to be a kosher halachic pineapple picker. Yeah. So according to Tanakama, leis lemilamdin, Tanakama says no. It's not good to teach the person not to be a glutton, even though shooting himself in the back. Don't do that. My question is why? I saw the Shita Mukubetzes, yeah. You know why? Because Lamaisa, you are changing a little bit from the Torah. You don't be smarter than the Torah. The Torah says that the person can eat ka'avas nafshay, kisovecha, as much as he wants. He should do that. He should eat as much as he wants. Eventually, if the door is closed, he'll figure it out himself. We don't have to be smarter than the Torah. Have bitochen. Do like the Torah says. Rabbanon islu melamdin. Rabbanon, the third opinion, as we saw at the end of the Mishnah, those Rabbanon at the end of the Mishnah, they say no. Although the Torah says eat as much as you want, you know, like, you know, echol kefi echol techa. You know these restaurants that he came from America? Yeah, eat as much as you want for X amount of money. So although it's nice to do eat as much as you want, but lamaisa, it's kedai to teach people to control themselves in order to help themselves, you know, get jobs later on. That's the other opinion. There's Doraisa, but we sometimes, you know, have the Rabbanons alongside the Doraisa. That's a second opinion. Another difference, potentially, possibly, another difference between the first opinion and I call it the third opinion, because in between is different, definitely another opinion, Chisma, that says don't eat more than the schar. Hey, there's a good siman. Chisma. What's Chisma? Tachsoim. Wow. Who? Chisma, he says, Bichosem. In other words, what says Rabbi Elazar Chisma? Don't eat too much. Don't eat more. You're not allowed to eat more than your actual salary. That's what Rabbi Elazar Chisma says. But the first opinion and the third opinion argue them in different ways. Yeah, okay. Okay, quick. Another potential difference between the first opinion and the third one. Oh, here comes a huge chiddush. The difference between them is whether they believe or do not believe in the opinion of Ravasi. What did Ravasi say? Doma Ravasi, afilu loy sochroi, ela livtzor eshkol echad oichloi. Let's say a person did not hire a worker. He did not hire him per hour, per day, per time. He hired him like a kablan. Have this one complicated cluster of grapes or pineapple or whatever to pick. Pick just this one for, I don't know, 30 shekels, and he ate it all up. He's allowed to. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. You hear that? In other words, it's nice but quickly edible food, yeah, because he can't stand it too long. He's picking and eating the whole thing and still getting paid. Wow. Says Ravasi Gokis Untahed. It's a rare case. Usually wouldn't happen. Because usually, yeah, it's a rare case. Usually you pick many things and you're limited by time, right? You can only eat while you walk, eat a little bit. Yeah. Luya Tsuyer, in theory, you hired him for one fruit only, and that fruit can be gobbled, some very expensive, I don't know, kiwi or something. Yeah. Up quickly, you manage. So then it's okay. Wow. That's Ravasi's statement. Now, before we continue, we could say that is the difference between Tanakama and the third opinion. Why? Because Tanakama says Oichel Poel Kishois. Tanakama says Tanakama specifically spoke about the cucumber. Let's say you have one cucumber. Cucumber you can eat very quickly. One small, nice cucumber. You pick your cucumber that you paid to pick, up, and you quickly ate the cucumber. Kishois, one date. Date you can eat very quickly. It's bug free. You checked it already. And what? Eat. Yeah, then what? One grape, one thing you got to eat, and that's what you got to work and you got to eat. That's kosher. That's Tanakama. That's what Tanakama specifically speaks about items. Chachamim matir into a poil. Chachamim say no way. Chachamim speak about the poil. What's a poil? That's what Rabbi Chisma says. Chachamim, if you look at the Mishnah, the response to Rabbi Chisma, a poil is someone who got to work per hour for a long time on many things. Yeah, a whole hours or days work. They say he is allowed to eat as much as he wants, but not the entire thing. You can't eat everything you work on. That's already the limitation. You can eat expensive fruit. You have 1,000 pineapples to pick. Yeah, the balabai stays with many, and even though your salary you get for that hour of picking, you get 30 shekels, and you ate a 50 shekel pineapple. That's okay because the balabai still stays with a lot. Well, Rozer Chisma, even that he doesn't allow, right? Because you can't you can't exceed your salary. But the Nakama is so extreme, the first opinion, you hire to pick one pineapple, you cannot eat that one little pineapple alone. Ad kedei kach. Vomar Ravasi, second statement of Ravasi, one second. Vomar Ravasi, second statement, afilu loy botzar elo eshkol echad oichloi. That second statement is a bit different. Ravasi says, let's say you are hired per hour, you're hired per hour. So far, you managed only to be boitzer one. You were boitzer, you harvested one cluster of grapes, and you did not yet put anything into the kela of shalbalabais, which is the standard. The first eshkol you picked before the balabais saw any profit, you started eating, and then you go on picking others. So these are the two statements of Ravasi, both very, very into workers' rights. Statement number one, you're hired for one fancy grape to pick, or one cucumber, eat it up, it's okay. Second statement said you're hired for longer, but the first one you ate, it's also okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, yeah, we saw before. Vetzricha, and we need both statements of Ravasi. If you only tell me the first statement, that's mishum delo ika lemesa v'kelev shalbalabais, which means the first statement, the person has one and only one item to pick, and he ate that. As extreme as it sounds, on the other hand, it makes more sense. Why? Because what's the picture in your mind when you see the words of the Torah, El kelecha lo titem? You pick some to the kingdom of balabais and some to yourself. First give something to balabais and then take yourself. In the first case of Ravasi, there is no balabais or me, so of course the poil goes first. We're so much into the poil's rights, avada. There's no balabais or me, so it's just me. You'll soon get the opposites. I'll get it clear. But when you have enough time and space to both eat and put to the kelim of balabais, then I would have said leisav bereisha v'hadar leichul. I would say, wait, there's an order over here. Let balabais see some revach, some gain, some profit. You're a good worker. At least place one cluster in the clear balabais, and then start your munching away. That's what I would have said. I wouldn't have known it from, get what I'm saying? In the first statement, it's all or nothing. It's a cruel war. There's just, it's musical chairs. There's one date, either me or the balabais, goes to me. I'm the worker. I have workers' rights. Avada. But if it's both me and balabais, and I'm the worker and he's a balabais, I would say, no, you can't start with you. Start with the balabais first. Shelov shel balabais, and then you. That's what I would have said. Kamash Mala, no. Both workers' rights work both ways. He's allowed to eat everything sometimes, And if it's both him and the balabais, he can eat first before balabais. Okay, and had you told me only the second statement of him working per hour for a long time, the worker starting by eating first and then balabais, I would say, of course, at the end of the day, balabais stays with something in his hands at the end of the day, so let the Paul eat first, as long as balabais also has something profitable. But the first case, which is extreme, balabais stays with nothing. I would have said, excuse me, Mr. Poyle, you're hired to work and to eat, but only eating everything? No way. Tzricha. That's why we need both. You're allowed to eat everything, and also you're allowed to eat first and then give balabais if it's a job per hour. The first one is the kablan, the second one is the poel. Both of them have rights. Iboy sema. A third pshat, the difference between Tanakama and Chachomim, the first and third opinion. Iboy sema. Iki benai de Rav. The difference between them is the opinion of Rav. Doma Rav. Says Rav like this. Matzasi Megillas Storim Bei Rabbi Chia. I found a secret Megillah, secret letter in the house of Rabbi Chia, the Besmedrash of Rabbi Chia. What are those secret letters? We see it in Shabbos Daf Vav Amud Beis and in Shabbos Daf Tzadi Vav Amud Beis. You know that the Mishnah was not allowed to be written. The Torah Shabbal Peh was not allowed to be written until Rebbe came and made the revolution. But sometimes when Tanoim would really want to remember what they learned, they would have written a small Megillah just for themselves. They wouldn't advertise it, not Feldheim, no Art Scroll. They would just keep it in there, in the drawer. Like some people are writers, they write to the drawer. They would keep it in the drawer for their own thing to remember. Yeah, that's in Shabbos and here too. Okay, what's written in that secret Megillah storm that the other Tanoim are not supposed to see? Because of Bo, it says there in that secret letter, Isi ben Yehuda Oimer, the Tana Isi ben Yehuda says, it says in the Torah, when you come to your friend's vineyard, you're allowed to eat as much as you want. Now listen to this. Any person is allowed to eat from someone else's vineyard, even if he's not a worker. Okay. No losignov here. Okay. Can't go to his house and choose choose your select jewelry, or to go to a dairy and take your favorite yogurt. But when it comes to the kerem or other fruit and vegetables, you can go and eat, even if not a worker. To be continued. The Omar, we have to, I'm sorry, over time, my fault. The Omar Rav, L'shavak isi chayil chol beria, says Rav, excuse me, what's going on here? Isi doesn't let anybody live. No vineyard people can ever make any profit. Everyone's going to, that's worse than communist Russia, l'chayra. Anybody can come and just eat whatever they want, right? Now, what's the difference between, what does that have to do with our Mishnah, excuse me? The Nekama says, oichel poyel kishois, a person is allowed to eat what? Only if he's a poyel, right? Only if he's a poyel, not if he's a worker. Anybody out from the street is not allowed to eat. The third person says, Chachomim matirin. Chachomim are the ones, some Rishonim will learn one way, some Rishonim learn the other way, by the way, Mechlokas Rashi and Rosh, but some Rishonim say, according to Tanakama, a poyel who is rented, hired to pick the kishas can eat, not anybody off the street. Or the third opinion, Chachomim say, no, only the one that's being paid, choroi, one who's making money properly as a poyel, only he's allowed to eat, not anybody there. Now, of course, the question is very strange. Rav is right. How can Isi ben Yehuda say that anybody can come and eat? Amar Avashi, don't worry. Amrisa l'shmaitza kamed Rav Kahana. I told that Sugit Rav Kahana, who was a very, very close Talmid of Rav, the Omer Li, Dilma, maybe what Isi ben Yehuda meant, the one who's very liberal, he meant be'oisin be'sudosam de'ovdu ve'ochlu, which means these are voluntary people. These are bored bochrim in Ben Azmanim, BBB, bored bochrim Ben Azmanim. And they are looking for something to do. And they, on their own accord, saw a kerem. And they say, guys, let's come and pick the kerem, yeah? And we're going to leave grapes for balabais, yeah? But we're going to eat the grapes as much as we want, as long as we are savea. Basically, we're going to be self-appointed workers. We are not hired by him. He doesn't even know us. It's the middle of the night. We'll come, we'll pick, because it's fun to pick the grapes. Yeah, it's Ben Azmani, we're far away from home. We don't pay for a restaurant. We're going to pick for him and leave him a lot of it, but we're going to pay our own salary by eating from the grapes. We're self-appointed poilim, and even learned the psukim in Dvarim, in Kiseitze, and that's what Ravasi ben Yehuda said is okay. If so, then what's Rav's problem? Why is Rav saying that it's such a terrible thing to do? Omar Lee, and you told me, yeah, okay. Excuse me, no, Rav Ashi is the one who said it to Rav Kahana. And then Rav Kahana replied on behalf of Rav, Afilu Achi, I can still understand why Rav resists that idea. A person prefers to pick his own workers. Yeah. Yeah, there's a thing called job interview, pick, profile, see your police record, A person prefers to actually hire his select people, benikta say, so they should pick the fruits from his pardes, from his vineyard, from his orchard. He preferred that over anybody coming from anywhere and eating his fruit, even though they are paying for their eating, sort of. He still prefers that. It's not the right way. It's still a jungle. It's still a balagan to have it the Isi Ben Yehuda way. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. And was good Chazara, but yeah, but thank you again, Baruch. Thank you everyone in Torah anytime. Our YouTube subscribers and followers and everybody here in the room have an amazing week full of Torah, and Mashiach comes soon, and we don't have to fast and only eat nice grapes and bring them to Beis HaMikdash Nesochim, Bezos Hashem. Thank you.